My name is Kyle Douglas. I am an attendee here at the Prairie Chapel. I'm also the Executive Director of Orphan Justice Mission. And in case you weren't here last week, we are in the middle of a series called God's Eyes. And what we're trying to do is take a look at the world from God's perspective, I guess, especially when it comes to things like the orphan crisis, the global orphan crisis. And we see a huge need in the world, and we can identify these physical problems. For example, those that exist in Rakai, Uganda. And this series, the other thing that we're doing is celebrating the partnership that the Prairie Chapel has with a church in Uganda called Glory of Christ Church, and that partnership is coordinated through Orphan Justice Mission. And what we're doing is working to alleviate some of these major physical problems that exist in Uganda and Africa in general. Things like lack of clothing, lack of nutrition, lack of medical care. AIDS is wiping out generations in Africa. And other things like malnutrition and diarrhea. And so we just see this essentially a physical crisis. And we at the Prairie Chapel want to do something about that. And so we are, again, coordinating with Orphan Justice Mission to meet some of these needs. When you leave today, you're going to get a piece of paper that says Glory of Christ Community Development Initiative at the top, Rescue Phase Project. Orphan Justice Mission is currently in what we call the rescue phase of partnering with this Glory of Christ Church. And what we're trying to do is meet some initial basic needs of the kids in the community in each of the 5 different development areas: business, health, education, family, and spirituality, as well as provide some training for their leadership on the ground and get some organizational structure set up so that we can continue to work with them. And what we're encouraging you to do is take a look at the 2 parts that we're proposing that Prairie Chapel will help with, and then find a way to give, whether it's financially or with technical expertise or some way. Help us meet some of these physical needs on the ground in Uganda. But this morning, we're going to adjust what we're looking at here, and we're going to change the perspective a little bit, because it's not just about the physical. There's more happening here than just getting kids shoes or clothes or food. I want to read you just a quick scripture out of Matthew. And this is a story about John the Baptist. He was a prophet, actually a cousin of Jesus, and because of what he was preaching, he was in jail. And he knew that Jesus was coming on the scene, and he thought that Jesus was the Messiah. And yet here he is in jail, and he doesn't see, I guess, the physical world being turned around like he was hoping, in that the Jews would be established, they'd get their authority back in the land, and the Romans would be escorted out of the area. I mean, he was just thinking that more was going to be happening when the Messiah got on the scene. And so he sends some messengers to talk to Jesus, and he says, ask him if he's the guy. Is he the one we're looking for? And Jesus sends them back with this message. He said, go back and reply to John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the good news is preached to the poor. Blessed is the man who does not fall away on account of me. Now Jesus was actually referencing an Old Testament scripture out of Isaiah. And it was about the coming day of the Lord. It's out of Isaiah chapter 61. And this is what that says. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. Jesus was basically telling John, yeah, I'm it. I'm the Messiah, and the day of the Lord is here. But it's not just about fixing all the physical problems, John. I have a bigger plan here. See, I'm coming to heal up broken hearts. I'm coming to create a revolution of the Spirit, where people's primary problem is solved, the problem of sin and the problem of disconnection with God. And see, Jesus was going around and he was healing the sick. And the lame were walking and the blind were seeing. And that's part of the deal too. But see, he wasn't doing that for everybody. Not all the blind were seeing. Not all the sick were being healed. He was using those things as an example of what he does internally for everybody. See, meeting the physical needs was a metaphor for what Jesus can do for us spiritually. Now, the physical does matter. But it's a spiritual problem fundamentally. And that's what we want to talk about today. And for us, it's important that we help meet these physical needs because it's a spiritual issue for us too. And just a few chapters later, after this John story, Jesus gives this parable of the sower. And he's talking about when the word goes out, okay, there's a couple things that can snatch away the word from the good news from getting inside someone's heart. And one of the things he says is the deceitfulness of riches will steal the word away. And see, what we find out when we look at the spiritual problem is that we're really equals, okay? We Americans don't have anything up on the Ugandans. Now, there may be a physical imbalance between what we have and what they have, but we have the same spiritual needs. And helping address the physical needs in Uganda is actually a spiritual issue for us. It makes sure that we don't get trapped into our lifestyle of comfort and luxury, and it allows the good news to take root in our heart. This morning, Dave's going to talk to us about this spiritual realm and this issue. But before we do that, we're going to show you a clip of the church, the Glory of Christ Church in Rakai, Uganda. And it's a video of their Sunday morning church service. And as you watch it, just ask yourself, are they spiritually poor? And I think the answer will be clear, that the joy that they have for the Lord is they're rich in the Lord. So enjoy.